In today's session, we're going to look at what Creator can do for the manufacturing industry. We're going to kickstart with understanding what are the challenges that we face within the manufacturing industry while implementing a manufacturing ERP. So, right from the beginning, if you look at, there are high costs that are involved when you opt for a traditional ERP that is already available in the market. Now, this might not be accessible for certain small scale or MSME businesses that are currently in the process of manufacturing. Now, apart from that, these traditional ERPs are also very rigid systems where you have already predefined modules in a desired way with the best industry practices that are available. So there are certain pros to it, but the biggest con is you don't have the flexibility to adopt that system to your business process because no two businesses operate the same way, right? Now, what this forces you to is rely on certain Excel sheets to actually manage the data and use the ERP system as a data repository tool. This starts creating data silos within your organization where you're not able to analyze collated or summarized reports in your desired way. Few other challenges would be cluttered modules from an user perspective. So if you have a rigid system where it has multiple modules for each users to use, so if someone like an operator or a quality person needs to have access to the system, apart from the actions that they are supposed to do, for example, a quality person is supposed to accept or reject the open items. Apart from that, additional cluttered modules would also be visible to them, which causes a hindrance for the user perspective, which is not very seamless and simple enough for them to use. Then there are fixed defined roles within a rigid system. For example, there could be certain organizations where one person can wear the hat of two different designations. I could have the same person doing my NPD as well as marketing activities. I could have the same person doing my NPD as well as quality activities. At this point, I cannot have a custom role to give specific access to them within the ERP because there would be a defined role for NPD, there would be a defined role for quality. I can only assign one role to a single person. So these are very common challenges that are faced in the manufacturing industry by each organization when they try to go with an existing ERP that's available in the market. So, what are the benefits of going with a custom approach? As you see, you can do rapid development and deployment of the ERP within a very short span of time. So, the learning curve to the system can be very quick because you're allowed to dictate the process and accordingly a system will be built. You get unparalleled flexibility within the system where you dictate every granular process that is available, what kind of stages, what kind of steps that are involved to move data from one department to another, and accordingly, a system can be built here. And like we said earlier, you can eradicate all the Excel sheets that are available, have a centralized data repository across the modules, which gives you the capability to pull out summarized reports where you can slice and dice data to analyze and make data driven decisions on the fly. Some other advantages would be you can also have a user centric design. Like I said earlier, from an user perspective, you can design the system in a way it is from their perspective, only the necessary actions are visible, only the necessary functions are allowed for them. These kind of designs are possible when you go for a custom development approach. And you can also keep the system scalable on a longer run, not just during implementation, but let's say 2 years, 3 years down the line, you have a business process that is being changed because ideally business grows over time. So whenever there is a change in business process, in a rigid system, you would not be able to make changes to it. But when you take a custom ERP approach, at that point, you would still be able to modify it in the future whenever the need arises. Now, these are all benefits of going with a custom approach. But what happens when you have ready-made solutions and certain unique business cases that are available? Like we discussed, this never goes hand in hand. Then there comes a very simple question. Should we go with a rigid ERP or should we go with a custom ERP? Now, either or can be done depending on your specific needs. For example, if you already have an existing ERP where you're facing roadblocks, then we can extend that existing ERP by building auxiliary solutions for you, which can coexist with the ERP. Now, if you don't have an ERP at the moment, we can build a custom ERP for you where you can manage your end-to-end process. So both the cases are possible. Now, how do we take this approaches? We will be doing it through a low-code development approach. So low code application development is nothing but a simple way to build and deploy applications with little to no coding efforts, which reduces your development time and makes it as a rapid development for you. And the tool or the product that we're going to use to do this development is Zoho Creator. It's a low code application development offering from Zoho's end to facilitate users to custom develop business process application through a simple visual builder interface here. Then, if you look at Zoho Creator, it has been in the market for 17 plus years. It is one of the pioneering products from a low code point of view. Even before India knew about low code, we had Zoho Creator as a low code platform within the ecosystem, slowly getting matured. The version that you see right now is a matured version, which has gone through 6 different iterations as on date. Currently, 15K plus customers are trusting Zoho Creator to run their business process on a day to day basis. So the ideology behind Creator is to empower everyone, anyone to easily build their own business process application. Because you as a business owner know what exactly you want, and accordingly, you will be able to build the solution by yourself. Now we'll also look at certain customer case studies that are using Creator to run their manufacturing business. Now these are some APAC customers that are using Creator for different business cases. Apart from which, now, these are specific customers that are using Zoho Creator to run their manufacturing business. So we have Tanner from Singapore, we have PBA Systems from Singapore, and from Thailand, we have Deciam, BD Straws, and from Japan, we have Sake, who does furniture manufacturing, and from China, we have Nimble that is using Zoho Creator for their manufacturing business here. We'll also look at some examples of what they use within Creator to run their business process, which can help you understand and pick up any insights to implement similar solutions within your organization. Now, if you look at PBA systems, they are based out of Singapore. Now, they've built an end-to-end custom production tracker application to digitize their production data to drive operational decisions. And from this, they have benefited 80% drop in errors, faster root cause identification, and better decision making with real time data here. And similarly, Tanner has implemented a custom end to end manufacturing ERP with integration to Zoho CRM for sales management. So they were already using CRM for their sales management, and they have built the production module and the rest of the manufacturing ERP modules within Creator, and both of them are integrated and work tandem with each other. Certain benefits that they have faced is effortless scalability on a longer run, streamlined operations through automation here. So similarly, Deciam has built different individual applications rather than one ERP, one application for individual inventory management, separate for quality, account, and production management. By building applications whenever a need arises using their business owners, they have increased their operational efficiency, and they have faced or noticed up to 50% reduction in labor cost from an administrative perspective here. We also have detailed case studies for the ones that we are displaying right now on our websites. If you want to understand a bit more in detail in their own words with sample screenshots from the interfaces that they are currently using. So one other case study would be Ralpro, who's based out of India. They're an aluminum extrusion manufacturer. They have built one tool to manage their end-to-end production process. They have an ecosystem of multiple Zoho products which are integrated together to form one full-fledged solution. By doing so, they've observed 500% productivity improvement and 150% capacity enhancement. So these are terms and words from their own mouth. So you can refer to the case studies to learn more about it. Now, what else can we utilize from using Creator as a low code development approach? So it can help you do a device agnostic approach wherein you build once, use it everywhere. One application can be built on web, which can be seamlessly available on mobile as well as tablet devices for both iOS as well as Android here. This would be the interface of Creator, which makes it a very simple vanilla interface for your users to have access to the system. Then the components that we use to build this application, whenever we say low code development approach, there are simple building blocks which actually help you build that end-to-end ERP here. Now, these are some components that we use. So we have a form builder to build forms within the system, right from any data you would like to collect. We have a report builder to build any kind of reports you would like to visualize, right from a pivot chart to a list report to any map reports that you would like to build. And we can build dashboards using a page builder to summarize an overview of the data that is necessary for any business vertical, right from a quality dashboard to an inventory dashboard here. Then we also have a workflow builder to do automations within the system. Now, when we say low code, this is the visual approach that will be used to actually build the application where you don't write any code. You do a simple drag and drop interface to build the system. System automatically generates the code necessary for it in the backend. This helps you do rapid development here. Now, if you have any business process flows with specific stages and actions to it, we can define blueprints similar to that with stages and transition actions, which can run parallel or sequential to duplicate your business process into the system. And this can be done on an UI level approach with no coding efforts here. But if there are any complex processes which involves coding, then even that complex processes can be implemented within the system using Deluge, which you're already aware of, which is Zoho's native low-code scripting language, using which you'll be able to also extend the functionality by writing complex codes within the system here. Then at any point, once you build a system, you want to have that integrated with other existing solutions. So we can utilize Zoho Flow within our creator to integrate other third-party applications that are available. We have some 600 plus ready-made connectors that can help you seamlessly connect with other applications to push and pull data between each other. So what other systems can you build within Creator? So you can either build an internal tools, you can build core ERP system, you can build external portals for your suppliers or vendors or even customers to interact with the ERP, which can reduce your internal to external communication within the system and help you have traceability and accountability for any interactions that have been done. And like we said, if majority of the users are using existing ERP, we can also do extending system. We call that as an auxiliary solution. So individual functions like manufacturing execution system or a material requirement planning system can be built isolated and it can be integrated with your existing ERP to efficiently run that specific business process in your business logic. So one example of a portal would be, this is how an external user portal can look, where you can map it to your custom domain. And even the branding can be done in a way where you can do customization to make it look very similar to your website and in line with your theme branding that's available. So this will help your distributors or your dealers, your job order vendors or subcontractors, or even customers to log in into your ERP, look at the data and interact with it in a controlled environment where you let them have access to the system accordingly. So we look at what are the core processes that are available within the manufacturing business process. So this could be categorized as core functions like your sale order or work order management, your production planning system, your procurement or incoming quality, your inventory, your production execution or production process, your quality management, and your billing, packing, and dispatch. These could be broader functions that are available. Under each function, there could be a lot of sub functions that are available. So if you want to do a dissection of this function and understand what are the sub functions available under sales and distribution, we could have a detailed CRM sales management system, right from an order inquiry to a quotation to an sale order management. Then within inventory and procurement, we can have an again a detailed P2P process where certain RFQ processes are being handled. We can also do inventory analysis, material requirement planning can be brought in. Within design and development, we can have product lifecycle management, a new product development management, and engineering change requests can be managed and revision control can be brought in. Within production, we can handle a master production schedule, a work order management, or even a manufacturing execution system to help you keep track of granular work orders that are being executed. So similarly, all these functions can be built together as a full-fledged ERP. If you look at this, these are my modules within an ERP, and these are the functions that will be available within these modules in a full-fledged ERP. Now, there are two ways we can take this approach, like we have been discussing throughout the session. One is take all of them together, have one single solution for it. If you don't want to do that, if you have an existing ERP, then each of this function by itself can be picked out and implemented as an auxiliary solution for you. For example, if I have an existing ERP where I'm facing difficulty in managing my order management process, where my order management is very unique, then in that case, I can only build an order management custom module and integrate with your existing ERP as an auxiliary solution for you. Now, apart from that, let's say I want to do my inventory analysis and my material requirement planning separately. We can also do that for you. Similarly, if I want to only empower or automate my production process, we can take these modules alone and implement it as a custom solution. Now, in today's demo, we're going to look at an sample ERP where we are going to take these modules and understand how the look and feel of the system would be, what kind of automations and validations can be done within the system. So we're going to look at order management, a material requirement planning from inventory, and a production planning with an work order execution system along with a small quality process where accept and rejection process are going to be done within the system here. Yeah, perfect. So with that said, we will also look at one more process flow before we kickstart things here, where a simple manufacturing ERP would have a high level process of, let's say you start with a sale order, like we talked about an order management process, where a sale order is initiated, which gets converted into a work order, where my PPC, production planning and control team, does a production planning and scheduling it. And once it is being planned and material requirement planning is done by the inventory team to check whether my stocks are available. If the stocks are available, then I supply the stock to my production and start my production process here. If the stock is not available, then it goes through a P2P process, which is procure to pay process, where I can either start with an RFQ process, receive quotations, compare the quotations, release a purchase order. And if it is a bought out item, I can release a purchase order. If it is an outsourced component or a produced item, then I can release a job order to my subcontractor. And then once the items are received, you make a GRN while entering the data into the system, update the stock, and then issue the materials to my production to kickstart my production process. Now, once my production process is initiated, I can have a detailed production life cycle where, depending on each factory layout, depending on each stages that are involved, how your workstations are aligned within your system, you can have a detailed production life cycle to be brought in where it will follow your production process routing within your factory. Post which you can do quality check, pre PDA inspection, then pack, dispatch, and complete the process. This is on a very high level. Now we look at an elaborate production life cycle that's available, an example that we are going to follow through within the system. So for that, let's take a sample example of making a particular phone or manufacturing a phone within my factory. Now, these are the processes which I'm going to follow to produce that particular phone. Now, if you look at this example, glass cutting is one process, OLED panel is another process, IC installation is another process. Now, all these processes are done in sequential order to produce a sub-assembly called display module. Similarly, I have PCB assembly as a process, camera and battery installation as a process, and frame assembly as a process. These are done in sequential order to produce my main body assembly. Now, both of these happen parallelly. So we call these processes are parallel processes, which will happen together as sub-assemblies. Once both of these items are produced, you're taking it into a final assembly to produce that finished good here. Now, out of which, we will also understand a little bit more in detail where these two processes, glass cutting and PCB assembly, are called as independent processes because you simply pick up the raw material and start that process instantly. You don't have any dependency on any other process. So these two are independent processes, whereas these four processes are called as dependent process because to start my OLED panel mounting, I am dependent on the output of glass cutting. To start my camera and battery installation, I am dependent on my PCB assembly. So this is how we create independency and dependency to form a production routing within the system here. And under each process, I also have certain raw materials that are going into it to do that particular operation. It could be one raw material or it could be multiple raw materials that are applicable to. So for that, let's take a moment to understand. Now, if you only see this display module subassembly, these are the bill of materials that are applicable for it. So I've also defined a production BOM in this case, where you are able to easily visualize what raw material goes into specific processes here. For example, to do my glass cutting process, I would need a touch screen glass for display in one quantity, which is measured as a pieces as my unit of measurement. And then to do OLED panel mounting, I would need OLED display panel of one quantity. And to do IC installation and testing, I would need one integrated circuit for display, one backing for the display, and all of this combined together forms my complete display assembly. Similarly, for my main body assembly also, I have a table where I've broken it down on a process level, what raw materials are necessary for it. Then for my final assembly, I'm going to take the output of the subassembly and the subassembly and combine them together to form my final assembly process. So this gives you a visibility into a sample production DOM with a process routing within the system here. Now we're going to take this example and look at how this will be executed within the ERP template that we have here. So for that, let me quickly jump into the ERP. So this is the sample ERP. This is a live ERP that is built on Creator, where all the core modules that we talked about within the presentation is available as module with specific sub functions to it. In today's demo, we're going to concentrate on the primary BOM that we discussed today. There are also certain masters which can be maintained within the system to facilitate your production process. For example, within my ERP, I have an organization master where I can maintain my organization details. So what is the name of the organization? What's the email address, contact logo, and what are the list of warehouses I have within my organization? I could even have multiple warehouses if I manage inventory across different branches here. Now, those warehouses can also be maintained as warehouse masters here. We call them as infrastructure master. Now, under each warehouse, I can have different storage spaces available. Because if I have a warehouse, I will have designated areas to handle my raw material, subassembly, final assembly, or spare parts. So these storage spaces can also be defined as infrastructure master within the system. And under each storage space, I can have multiple racks that are available if I have different racks that are present here. And even within a rack, if you have multiple storage units, that can also be defined within the system. And it's very simple to define them. For example, if I want to define a storage space, you get a very simple form interface where you define what is the warehouse code, what is the storage space that you would like to have, and what are the different racks that you would like to have. Say, let's say SFG02 is my storage space, under which SFG-rack02 is my rack ID. If you have multiple racks, I can define that and store it within the system. This is the infrastructure master from an inventory perspective. Similarly, I can also do workstation level master from a production perspective. If I have my factory where there are specific areas to do specific operations, I can define them as blocks. What are the workspaces that are available? So if I have my primary production line and auxiliary production lines to support my primary lines, I can have them as different workspaces. Under each workspace, what are the stages or workstations that are available? Some might even call it as work centers. So depending on what workstations are available, you can define workstations within the system. So all you have to do is choose which workspace, what is the name of the workstation, and a workstation ID gets auto-generated based on the previous workstations that are available. You choose what is the type of workstation, which employee is the head of this particular workstation, and which employees have access to this workstation. Again, these are all dependencies with my employee module where I manage my employee masters, which gets linked into this workstation, where I seamlessly give access to them. Depending on which employees you map here, only the specific employees would have access to the work orders assigned to the workstation to either start or complete the process here. Similarly, I can also manage certain user level masters within the system, right from customers, subcontractors, vendors, and delivery partners. So any sale orders I'm going to place, I can have customer masters maintained here. Any job orders that I'm going to give to certain vendors, I can manage them as subcontractors within the system. Any bought out part vendors where I'm going to release purchase orders, I can manage them as vendor masters within the system. And any logistic vendors that support me for my last mile delivery, I can add them as delivery partners within the system here. So similarly, moving into my inventory dashboard, where I get a clear visibility of what's my raw material, semi-finish and finished good breakdown that's available with a simple search interface to understand what are the products available. How do I check the stock within the system? Simply search for a particular product, hit view stock, system checks the warehouse and tells you this particular item is available in these location in these quantities accordingly. Now, how do you add products into the system? We have an item master which can help you manage data within the ERP. where you have the product quick link under inventory. So you go into products, you manage all your individual SKUs that are available. So from the table, individual raw material, subassembly, and my final products should be defined as item masters within the system. So you can manage that within the products report that is available. So going into that takes me to a form interface wherein I can enter the product code, name, what is the variant, what is the SKU for the product, what's the type of product, whether it's a final product, raw material, or a subassembly can be defined, and what is the unit of measurement in which I'm going to enter this product can be defined within the system. If you have any product images that can also be uploaded through an image field here, then what's my reorder point, and then I will be able to create a product master within the system here. Now, if you don't want to do it through a form interface, then ideally we also have an import option using which bulk import can be done using an Excel sheet to import data into the system here. Now, the assembly and the subassembly, I've already defined it as a product here. For example, if I search for this, you can see assembly of display module and main body assembly is one product with the product code that is defined here. These are sub-assemblies that I'm going to use within the system. Now, if I look at this product, I also get a detailed view wherein this is a final product. This is produced in-house. This is the cost of the product. And if I want to deactivate this product, it's possible from here. If I want to update the price of the product, we can have custom actions to trigger specific actions here. And anytime I add or remove stocks under product masters, I get an inventory history added stating what is the lot number it was inverted, at what date and time it was inverted, how many quantities have been inverted, what is the current quantity that's available in stock here. Perfect. Once the products and item masters are defined, we can go into production dashboard where we have three critical masters that are going to be managed here. So we have the production process, routing, and bill of material that's available. So from our process, we had step-by-step procedures which are going to be followed, right? So first is a glass cutting process. So I can go into production process, define individual processes within the system to produce a particular finished good. You can see glass cutting is one process, which is an independent process. My second independent process would be a PCB assembly. Now, both of this helps me produce the complete display assembly and the complete assembly of phone body. So I can define for what final good I'm producing a process. And whenever I do a process, what is the process output that is going to be generated out of it? So this produces this particular subassembly, and this process produces this particular subassembly. And both of these subassemblies go together to form my final assembly here. Likewise, individual processes can be defined within the system. For example, let's go into edit mode. We are taken into a form interface where you choose what is the final product that you're going to produce, what is the operation that you're going to do here. So individual processes will be dictated in what category or family of workstation this particular operation would be done, whether it's an assembly process, whether it's a fabrication process, whether it's a testing process that can be defined as workstation type, and what are the procedures or instructions to be followed while executing this operation can be given as an open text field to define that procedure instructions here. Now, if you have an SOP or a standard operating procedure, then that can even be uploaded as an image or a file upload by giving specific provisions by adding fields into this particular form here. You can also dictate what is the total operational time, what is the operational cost involved, whether it's a dependent or an independent process. Now, what is the output of the process that is going to be generated, and what all raw materials are necessary to produce this particular process will be defined inside my child BOM for this process. Now, you also have a checkbox called QA required. So what it helps you do is whenever this checkbox is checked, it defines whether it's a critical or a non-critical process for me. Now, when a QA required is done, after this work order is completed, you push this item into my quality bucket where my quality team inspects it, accepts or rejects the item to move it to my next stage. If it is unchecked and the quality gate is not introduced, it automatically moves to my next stage here. So this helps you dynamically introduce quality gates within your production process wherever it is necessary. Yeah. So similarly, I define every single process within my system where if I define a dependent process, I choose it as a dependent and I select what are the processes it is dependent on. And once I select that, apart from my raw materials that are necessary, it also shows up my dependent process and asks me what is a target that is dependent on. For example, my previous process output, either I need 1 or I need 10 quantities to start my process. So there is a process dependency, there is a quantity dependency on my previous process also. Both of that can be defined accordingly. Once all these processes are defined within the system, now based on the dependency and independency, system can automatically generate the routing for you. For example, if I select my finished good, system runs through the production processes, picks out all my independent processes first and puts it as a sequence. Based on my second dependency, system restructures my production routing and tells me this can be done in this particular order. Now, if you see, OLED panel is dependent on glass cutting, so it falls after that. Now, IC installation is dependent on OLED panel. So it categorizes my level 1, level 2, level 3 and automatically generates a routing for me. Based on individual process data, system aggregates my total operational time and total operational cost applicable for it. So once a production routing is generated, based on my child BOMs that are available for my production process, I can also generate a bill of material for that within the system. Again, it can be auto generated. Depending on what routing you select, system runs through the individual process, runs through the raw materials that are applicable in that process, picks out the distinct value, aggregates the quantity and tells me this is my unique bill of material that is needed. This is my unit price and total cost that is applicable for it, where it gives me a clear visibility of what is my material cost for this particular production process, finished good, where I follow this particular routing within the system here. Once all three masters are defined, now comes my regular operational flow, where I can receive a sale order from a customer against which I can start a production process, or I can directly start a production process here. So let's quickly look at a sale order data from which you can initiate a production request where you convert it into a production plan here. So for that, let's jump into the sale order module where we'll quickly generate a sales inquiry within the system here, where my sales team punches for which customer, when is the expected delivery date, what product they are ordering. Let's say they are ordering this particular assembly module. They are requesting for two quantities, and this is the total value based on my unit price here. Once a sale order is punched into the system, it comes and sits under the pending sale order where you can see this particular product is available. My sales team can choose to accept or reject it. A small one-step approval process is brought in, but ideally your approval process could also be dynamic with different validations that are being brought in. So let's approve this particular sale order. Once it is approved, it moves into the approved sale order data. Current status is yet to allocate products. Now again, let's imagine a case where I have finished goods that are readily available with me. If those are readily available, I could simply assign that particular finished good and dispatch it instantly without going through the production process because I have my excess FG stock that's available. In that case, you can run and material requirement planning for my FG to understand what is available in stock. When you hit create transitory storage, system runs through the inventory and tells you for the sale order, these are the FGs that are needed, out of which 10 is currently available in stock, only 2 are required. So automatically 2 gets allocated for it. And it also gives you a visibility of what is the current production in progress that is running. So if you want to plan a dispatch ahead of your production schedule that is running here. So once you do that, you can simply dispatch the order and deliver it. The other case is, let's say I want to create a production request. At that point, we also have an option here called request production order against the sale order. So from a salesperson, if there is no stock available, I can choose to request for a production order by clicking on this button. System redirects me to the interface because there could be multiple products where I can choose which products to be requested. So once I hit submit, automatically a production order request is added in. My production team gets intimated on the production order request where they can see for the sale order on this date, this production order request is generated. From here, I can choose to create a production plan against this request where I choose create production order. System opens up an interface, pre-populates the finished good for me. I can choose which bill of material I'm going to follow because one product can have multiple bill of materials that are available. So based on the BOM, routing gets pre-populated. System gives me a quick peek into my material requirement planning. So the current user is a production planning control person where he is planning my production. While I'm planning my production, I get an insight into what are the raw materials that are necessary, what is available in stock, what is my required quantity to fulfill this production plan here. And based on the target quantity changes that you do, automatically system recalculates my required quantity and tells me whether it is available or not. Now, for this particular FG, there are different processes to be done, right? Even that processes are converted as work orders and individual production targets are set as work orders against them. Now, based on the sale order request, my sale order gets linked to my production order and I can make it as an made to order process here. And I can also define what is the production due date. If you want to pre-populate these items from sale order, again, that can also be done within the system. Now, this gives me an overall bill of material. If you want to understand process level, what is the raw material availability that is there to either take up the production plan, even if some raw materials are not available to a particular stage, I can get a visibility on what is the process level output that's available, what are the raw materials that are necessary under each process. Breakdown can also be given to you, from which you can understand what is my process level bill of material that is necessary for you. Once you're okay with that, hit submit. Instantly, a production plan is created within the system, which you can see under the production order dashboard that's present here, where you can see production order number 103, which is done as a made to order basis. This product is being produced. This BOM and routing is being followed. This is the target quantity. Currently, the status is under planned stage here. By clicking on this production order, it also gives me an overview of the production order against what sale order this production plan has been generated. What are the list of work orders that are available? What is the FG that I'm producing? What is my production order status? What is my material status at the moment gets displayed here. Because as a planner, I can even do my planning few weeks prior to that. So once you derive or arrive at that particular production date, my inventory team gets notified on the production plans that are currently open, and my inventory team would be able to run an MRP and allocate materials against the production plan. So you go into plan to production orders from the inventory dashboard, where you can look at all my open production plans that are there. Based on my due date, I can run a transitory storage where system runs through the inventory and automatically allocates quantity based on the necessary raw material required through a first in first out logic. Based on my inward logs, system tells me this is the rack, this is the storage space. I need to pick up these quantities and allocate it for this particular production order. If certain items are not available at that instance, I can even trigger a procurement request or a purchase order to procure that item and invert it within the inventory. Once all my materials are available, I can allocate it against the production order. So let me quickly allocate it. So once the items are allocated, now my production team gets a confirmation from the inventory. Yes, the materials are available. So they can distribute that production order into individual work orders within the system. So they have an option to assign work orders, which gives me the option to assign work orders when a material has been allocated. You can see these are the work orders that are applicable to this production order. Then there are two different options. Either I can assign it to an in-house workstation, or I can assign it to a subcontractor to outsource this operation to an external subcontractor here. So if I'm going to do it to an in-house workstation, I can simply hit assign it to specific workstation and set the necessary quantity that is assigned against it. So hit submit. And similarly, the rest of the work orders can also be assigned accordingly. So what it helps you do here is one operation can be done in multiple workstations. So if you have a load and a demand planning for each workstation on distributing this production target to specific workstation, there is an assignment logic. Then this manual operation can be automated through a function by understanding your assignment logic on how do you distribute work orders inside your workstation. Again, that would be very unique and custom to each business. That is the reason that would be brought in as a customization here. So let me quickly assign all the necessary items or work orders to my specific workstations here. Once all my orders are assigned to specific workstation, then my inventory team would be able to supply that particular items to kickstart the workstation to my production orders that are available. So I go into inventory, I'm able to issue the materials that are necessary here. By hitting issue material, now materials are supplied. So what has happened here is I've generated a production plan against which the inventory team confirms the materials are available. Only when the materials are available, I'm able to distribute that work orders to specific workstations. And once I know where the work orders are going to be executed, my inventory team is able to supply the material. Once all my materials are supplied, my status gets updated at different instances as a timeline. You can see the current status of this production order is assigned to workstations. By clicking on the summary, I get an overview stating materials are currently issued, production order status is assigned to workstation. Based on the workstations I've assigned the production order, you get a visibility and a hyperlink to these workstations. So as an operator, if you want to go to a specific workstation, I can go to this specific workstation. System takes me to an operator dashboard. This is my work order execution or my manufacturing execution system, where as an operator, I'm assigned to a specific workstation. All my individual work order gets displayed to me. You can see glass cutting is a process that is available for me. So I can choose to start or complete a process whenever I have the materials that are available. If there is a dependency and my materials are not available, the button does not get enabled where I'm not able to start the process. Only when I have the materials, I'm able to start the process here. Let me quickly start the process. Once I start, a date and time is captured. The status also gets updated as in progress. You can see for my production order 103, work order number 382 has been started. It is currently in progress. So once I complete the process, I can choose to mark it as end work item and I would be able to choose a quantity produced and complete the process here. Again, partial work order execution is also possible where you can do one quantity right now, complete it, push it to the next stage, then come back and start the rest of the quantities, complete it and push it to the next stage. Multiple partial work orders is possible. And every time you start and stop, system captures the time for it and also shows you how long you have taken to do that. So this gives you a work order summary view where the current status of the work order is completed. This is the time in which I've started. This is the time in which I've completed. This is my timeline showing when all it has been executed here. And what is the status of the current work order. And if I have any raw materials to be returned back, I can choose return material. Any unused raw materials can be pushed back into my inventory here. Similarly, every single work order can be executed and completed within the system from an operator dashboard. Once all the work orders are completed, you will get a summary view stating all the process has been completed. These are the work orders that have been completed. Once it is done, it is taken into my inventory where my inventory team gets a quick notification stating there is a pending item which needs to be assigned to a particular location as an assigned stock location. So within assigned stock location, my inventory team can choose to assign it to a specific location within my warehouse that's present here. When I choose assigned stock location, system shows up which warehouse, which storage space, which rack, how many quantities am I going to place in that location can be assigned and pushed into the inventory here. Now, one other process that we can also see here is a quality process. Anytime a particular operation is completed as an in process quality, you get a quality analysis that is available here. From here, all my pending items to be inspected by my quality shows up here, either during my in process or as my final PDI, depending on what stages it is going to be pending. It also gets categorized on a production order level, on a work order level, where my quality team can inspect the item and submit a result against it where they can choose what is my approved quantity and automatically the rejected quantity gets displayed here. Anytime if I reject a particular item, system also creates a remediation process where I can mention what is the reason for rejection. So manufacturing defect in assembly can be added as a comment. If you have predefined errors that are occurring, then that can be given as a pick list for your quality team to select it to. So once you reject this particular item, you can see that within your QA result, which item has been rejected, how many quantities have been rejected. You can see out of the one produced quantity, one item has been rejected. So anytime something is rejected, I have an option to remediate it rather than directly scrapping it, where I get an option to either send it back to rework to my workstation or generate a scrap replacement against it. So if you send it back to rework, it comes back to my workstation where I'm again able to start the item, complete the item, do the operation, send it back into quality. Only when it is completed, I'm able to move to my next stage here. So similarly, any other process and functions that you would like to build within the manufacturing ERP, we would be able to custom develop it with your specific stages and processes that are applicable to your business. So this covers a high level overview of the template that we have here.